Follow-up is so important to what we do with Free Camp. Free Camp we put a lot of effort into year-round, but like the Great Commission says, it says to go and make disciples. And through Free Camp, the event, we get a lot of great things going on. We're going to those kids to get them there, but we got to follow up. We got to follow up to make disciples. That with any potential of that actually happening, you got to continue throughout the year to do that. And so the reason why we do that follow-up is to get into the lives of not just these kids, but also to these families. When you're talking about community impact, these kids are the doorways to their families, and the families are the doorways to community. So all three of these things are huge impacts, but you cannot do it unless you go to them and following up through the process. One of the follow-ups we do here locally in Amarillo is called Trunk or Treat. And so what we do is we take our City of the Refuge kids, our court ministries, the ministries that meet on a Wednesday night, and we plan this event that's going to be, popping open the trunks for these vehicles, having candy filled out, and we invite their families, not just these kids, to this event. And so we have families coming in, some we've never seen before, and we start to just introduce ourselves, and that's when the follow-up's starting to happen. There's another event that we have in the clothing giveaway, and we do that in September. This is not just the follow-up that we're keeping in mind, it's also touching what we consider holistic ministry. We're hitting a physical need. What is the physical need of your community? Okay, national impact is amazing, some of the stories we're hearing. So far I've been giving some of the examples that we do locally here in Amarillo. But in national impact, what I'm noticing from some of the churches is they're doing something creative right away with Free Camp. Pastor Robbie Jones in Chesapeake, Virginia actually had this idea. He said, when these kids are coming into Free Camp on Friday, I'm going to have them do a postcard, and we're going to send that thing out immediately. And it's going to go right to their parents, and they're going to receive it before Sunday service. Now, this is amazing. These families came in that Sunday after we did that Free Camp there in Chesapeake. And when they got there, Pastor Robbie Jones gave an invitation for any families at all that wanted God in their home to just stand up. Now, for a little while, there was no movement. It got real quiet. You might even say awkward. But as time just started going by, you saw one lady make a stand, and then another, and then another. And before you know it, was 10 families standing up that said, we want God in our homes. Now, that's part of follow-up, but it continued. Pastor Robbie didn't stop there. He continued to make the phone calls and the effort that comes after that. He stayed in touch with them. He built relationships with them. And now 5 families are connected to that church through the tool of Free Camp starting out, but by the follow-up of the church doing the effort afterwards and the relationships that were built. Now 5 families are connected to that church. Isn't God good? Now guys, when we're talking about follow-up in the local church, we're going to give you an example here of what we do here in Emerald, Texas, out of Christian Areas Church. It's called Court Ministries, and that stands for City of Refuge Kids. And so what we do on that Wednesday night, starting at 6 o'clock, we meet a physical need. We understand that some of these kids come in, they're not getting the proper amount of meals they need, so we provide a meal that night. That's how we start it. And then we continue on till 7 o'clock, and we start with a lesson that goes on. We have worship that's involved. That worship includes motions. And often what we find ourselves doing is using the Free Camp songs we do as a follow-up, something that they already know, and we plug that into what we do on a Wednesday night. And there's just many fun things that are involved. It's high energy. So remember guys, you're the example. Just like when you were the group leader in Free Camp, you're a group leader year-round. You're the example that these kids are looking up to. You're the example they're seeing right in front of them. So when you come in with high energy and you're giving everything you got, they're going to do the same thing. And so that's the heart to keep in mind when you're approaching these Wednesday night or whatever day of the week. Just find a time that works for you, a context that works for you, a curriculum that works for you. The main thing is just do something and to get involved. And what we also do at the very end that I find is very important is we meet in small groups and we make sure these kids have a takeaway every single week. And so when those kids walk away, they have something to take with them for the rest of the week. And so that's just a little bit of what we do here in Amarillo, Texas. So remember guys, that when you're doing Free Camp is just the event. It's an awesome evangelistic tool. You can put a lot of energy into it, but without the follow-up, you're not really completing that Great Commission. You got to make disciples, and you do that with that truth and that compassion. You don't just have that event, but all throughout the year. And so those kids, just like I mentioned earlier, they're looking to you just like they do in Free Camp. You're the group leader year-round. And when you're that, you're doing what the Apostle Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ.